appearance of lesions, loss of control of the limbs, and eventual death, all of which are symptoms of a series of events which nearly killed the sea star population in whole, and has still left a wide wound in their numbers. Luckily, this doesn't happen to humans, but only to starfish. In 2013, researchers were baffled to see the marine life species progressively die off in mass numbers. It quickly hit many news outlets to inform listeners to keep a lookout for local oceans and beaches to ensure if the series of events has not reached nearby waters. Unfortunately, many oceans were already infected, and many starfish corpses were found among ocean rocks in local areas. The symptoms of this mysterious cause were cruel and unmerciful, leaving starfish as if they were murdered. The first sign being curling limbs. The limbs would bend and curl in extraordinary ways where a sea star would become sluggish over time. The next sign would be lesions, which would appear on the surface of the starfish. The lesions would unfortunately aid in the gruesome part of this phase. The gruesome phase would begin hours later with limbs detaching themselves from the starfish as if they were freely given control. Afterward, the organs of the starfish would spill out and the starfish would eventually die. Keep in mind, the limbs of the starfish would still walk as if they were attached to a starfish. This video is by far the most gruesome that I could find. This here shows a limb tearing itself from a starfish. Fortunately, starfish can regenerate these limbs back together, but unfortunately this process would halt their regenerative ability, and the starfish would not be able to have a chance to survive. Studies were immediately conducted to find out the cause and possible cure for this problem, but to no avail, they could not find a strong solution. But that did not stop them in their search to identify and preserve their information found along the way. Through their paths, they found a lot of key information, some of which being that this is not the first documentation of sea star wasting syndrome. During the mid to late 20th century, records show that sea stars were dying off in the same symptoms as described, but not in the same large magnitude of 2013's, and that the syndrome has existed for at least 70 years. Through that information, and lots of others as well, it struck researchers that one question among many others was the most interesting. One theory suggested that overpopulation was to blame for the cause. As starfish started to prosper, many believed that a sudden switch must have been triggered and caused millions in devastation of the species. This by far is the most unvalid of theories. Overpopulation would not trigger such an event like this, and that would have not been the main cause but a possible factor that would support the spread of the syndrome. Another theory that was conjured up was the rising seawater temperatures were to blame for the cause. Some thought the warm oceans would trigger somewhat allergy to starfish and would cause the symptoms. While sea stars did die in warm oceans, it wasn't the main cause of the problem, though it was found that harmful bacteria is a lot more effective in warm water. While there are a number of assertions as to the cause of sea star wasting syndrome, there is only one that is the best possible answer. This is that sea star wasting syndrome is a virus, a dense virus to be exact. There is a lot of evidence that supports this. Starfish that are placed in UV-treated aquariums are healthier than other stars that are placed in ordinary aquariums, and that UV kills viruses, microbes, and bacteria. Sea stars injected with samples of infected sea stars would eventually become sick, which meant a spread of sickness was visible. Cold water and hot water would affect the rate of speed of the infection process. Boiled samples came with good results. Viruses that are boiled in water die or are inactivated. These results found were tested with hundreds of sea stars. Recently, the syndrome has returned, but not on the same magnitude as before. The population of sea stars is still diminished today. It was also reported that infant sea stars have made a small return. We can only hope they prosper. Researchers have not stopped in their search for a cure and more information that can lead to a future better for sea stars.